When I train a lot of kiddos, this is one of the shots that, hey, what's good everyone? Okay, so today we're gonna be talking about a very, very spicy shot, and it is the BTB. If you don't know what that stands for, it is the behind the back shot. It's a very cool shot, and might I add, it's a very necessary shot. Now, why I think it's necessary, I'll talk about that later. When I train a lot of kiddos, this is one of the shots that is kind of hard for them to master, especially if they're learning their stick and they're learning how to do different types of shots. If you want me to make a video on that, let me know. But we're gonna be talking about how to master the BTB. And there's 3 different categories that we're gonna be talking about. Number 1 is the form. How do we actually do it? Number 2 is practicing it, okay, different types of practicing on the run, off of a catch, stationary, that probably comes first. And then we're gonna talk about application, when we actually do this inside of a game. So, buckle your seatbelts and let's get to it. All right, so let's talk about the form, how we actually perform a behind the back shot. Well, if you listen to what the shot is actually called, you know that it goes behind your back. Now, what I notice a lot with young players is they have a very hard time of getting their stick behind their back, but we're gonna fix this. If you follow this formula, you should be able to do it in no time. A lot of players, when I teach them this, they're amazed on how fast they can actually do a BTB. And it also takes a lot of bit of practice, you know, doing it on the run, off of a catch, with a defender on you. So we're just gonna teach you the basics right now, and then I'm gonna let you go ahead and do your thing. So let's talk about the form. I think where we want to start with is our feet and our body. I'm going to move my ball bag right here. This kind of tells me where to be. Feet and body. Nice athletic position right here. A little bit of a wide stance, not too wide, right? And what we're going to do with our hands is get them out away from our body. And I'll show you facing the camera, and then I'll show you sideways. And then I think we want to do this. And BTBs, it's going to depend on what the situation of the game is, where you're going to be firing from. Sometimes you're firing from right there, sometimes you're firing from right here. It all depends on where the ball is, where you've caught it, where the defense is, where you're trying to place it. I think those things are super important to understand. So there's not one thing that's going to fit everything, but I think the core fundamentals of how we actually get the stick behind our back are super important to master. So let's talk about it. So I'm going to get maybe a mid grip right here, bottom hand right here. And I think the motion when you start doing your BTBs is very simple. And a way that I was taught to do it by watching a couple videos, it's kind of like you're shoveling snow. That's one way to do it right there. I don't know how many people shovel snow like that. I live in California, so I've never shoveled snow, but it's a good way to get the stick behind your back. A couple other things that you also want to do when performing a BTB is kind of like get your stick, instead of having it right here, this is like for more experienced players, they can kind of just naturally do that. You could start with it a little bit behind your hip right here. I think that's super helpful, especially for a lot of young players. Now, the tendency for a lot of young players when they start doing this is this. Notice that? The stick kind of goes that way and the ball goes that way as opposed to the target. We want to avoid that. And how we do that is we go slow and we just kind of like rotate like that. Now, I'm gonna rotate just a little bit. The floor's kind of slippery. I'm in the basketball gym. So we're gonna step and snap. Now, if you can't do that yet, we're just gonna stand up straight and snap it back and really try and push down with that bottom hand and come up. Now, in terms of placement, when we get to the practicing portion, that snap where you release is where the ball is going to go. So if I snap right here, it's probably gonna go high. If I snap down here, it's probably gonna go low. So just be mindful of that. So let's just start with what I call empty reps. It's a rep, no ball, and we're just working on the form. You can call this form shooting and all that good stuff. So again, I'm gonna get my hands right. I'm gonna be facing my target, my hip towards my target, and we don't need to be that far away when we're doing this. In fact, you could be right in front of the goal to practice this. And we're gonna get into a nice little stance right here, nothing too crazy, and we're gonna just snap, just like that. We're gonna pull, punch down, just like that, and just like that. We're gonna do this maybe 6 times, and we're really gonna be trying to avoid this, because that ball is then gonna go that way. We're gonna try and avoid this, because then that ball, I don't know where that ball is gonna go. A lot of players will also do this, like that. That's kind of like behind the back. It's like over the head, but you don't really wanna do that. You're just kind of like doing this tornado motion. So that typically happens when you're rushing the process. So slow your brakes, Don't slow your brakes, pump your brakes. So now we're gonna go slow. I'm gonna lift, I'm gonna pull with this hand, right? And I'm gonna punch down and I'm gonna snap just like that. Notice how my stick is not like twisting like that again. I'm kind of like going straight. My butt end is also facing my target, right? So boom. Now that we got the form down on the right hand, we're also gonna do this with our left hand too. So again, I'm gonna keep my stick straight, kind of pointed towards it. Again, I can get it back here, especially for those younger players who are struggling to get the stick behind them, right? We're gonna talk about the twist and the step in a second, but we're gonna do the same thing, right? Nothing too major, and we're gonna go slow and really get it behind. Notice how I'm kind of twisting my torso. That's a natural movement that happens when you're kind of rotating and stuff like that. Just like that, right? Now, we're gonna go back to stepping into it. So what it's gonna look like is I'm gonna step towards my target and I'm gonna fire just like that. Again, are you gonna be shooting like this all the time? No, sometimes you're gonna be on the run, snapping back just like that. So it's going to vary depending on the situation. So now I'm right here, I step and I snap. Notice how my torso also rotates in like that too. It's not always gonna look like that, but again, it just depends. But we're gonna practice that. Step, snap. Now be careful with the rotation because again, a lot of players over rotate and they do this, boom, boom. And so that ball goes that way as opposed to the goal. Okay, so we got our form down, right? And again, we wanna do this a couple of times, just get nice and comfortable and don't rush and go whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. You don't wanna do that because then you're not really thinking about your form and thinking about the process. You wanna slow it down. Remember, pump the brakes, not slow the brakes, pump the brakes. And again, we could get a little bit low. You could also start from down here too. I think, you know, having different positions of where you can fire that BTB from is important. Don't just do it from here, don't just do it from right here. Kind of like mess around and have fun with it, get a little bit creative, right? You could also put someone right here or put a post or whatever and try and get it around that later on. So now we're done talking about the form. It's time to go into practice. Okay, so we talked about the form at length and now it's time to go into the practice so that we can practice everything that we just talked about. And so there's 4 things that we're gonna do in practice. And this is a very beginner guide to intermediate. Number 1, we're gonna be practicing it stationary, really working on that form, really getting our confidence built up by doing it over and over and over again. I would say if you could do it 30 times right-handed, 30 times left-handed, or you want to bump those numbers up depending on which hand you're strong with and which hand you're weak with, you can definitely do that. After we're done with the stationary stuff, we are going to go into the movement stuff. Now we're going to add a little bit of movement. We're going to start slow. We're going to finish fast. And once we're done with the movement stuff, we are going to do it off of a catch off the wall right there and really get those reps in. So let's get to it. So when we first start off, especially for those newbies, you don't need to be that far away from the cage. In fact, I'm pretty much almost center line right here. And I'm just gonna be working on getting that ball into the cage. Now, it's not gonna look pretty for everyone. It's not gonna be perfect the first couple of times you do it, but that's okay. That's what we're here to do. We're here to practice to get better. Okay, so again, let's start with our form. Nice athletic stance. I'm gonna roll up the shorts or the sweats a little bit. Hands out, get them a little bit back. And a lot of kids will start like this. And that's okay, just a little snap, especially if you're a youngin'. Now, as we get better at it, we wanna maybe snap, and that one went a little bit low, that's okay. We're gonna do this multiple times to see what we're learning from it. I think after about maybe 5, 6 shots, you should stop and assess where are those shots being put, and then what do I need to do to get them where I want? We'll talk about placement a little bit later, but I think taking 5 to 6 shots and then pausing and thinking about it is a good way to do that, especially if you're new at something. Okay, so let's dial it up just a little bit. So now I'm gonna get my hands out just a little bit. I'm gonna start with the stick in front of me as opposed to back here. It doesn't need to always be back there. Again, once you get a little bit better at cradling and controlling that ball, you can kind of like put it right here. You can even have it right here and just work that little like wind up, right? So now I'm gonna take my hoodie out just a little bit. I'm gonna try and go for that top left corner right there. So I'm gonna be stepping towards it and I'm also going to be looking at it, okay? Well, I was pretty close. I hit the pipe. Let's see if I could ping that. Right here. That's pretty good. Anyways, if you follow those simple fundamentals and you just do this step by step and you go slow and you finish fast, you will then start to ping those corners. So I got this ball bag right here. That's all it takes. You can put a ball bag in front of you and then just work, right? Okay, I'm gonna try and go towards my top target right here on the right. So what am I gonna do with my body? I'm gonna step towards it. I'm gonna look at it because that's important. A lot of kids will do this and then the ball goes off that way, or they'll do one of these, right? They'll step this way and they'll over rotate, and now that ball just went all the way over there for me to chase later on. So we're not gonna do that. I'm gonna step towards this target right here. I'm gonna keep my eyes on it. My butt end is pointed towards it, even if it's not, because again, it all depends on what's happening in the game and what the defense is giving you, right? I have to adjust and I gotta think about it, okay? So I'm gonna step towards it, butt end towards it, looking at it, pull my hoodie back a little bit. That was a little bit high, almost hit the camera. Let's try it again. That was a little bit low, but towards the side I wanted to. A little bit high again. Ooh, saved that one right here. Not where I wanted to. Here we go again. That's a little bit too far right. So I'm making that assessment as I'm shooting. Again, I'm not getting it where I want to, but the form is good. Once I've mastered that form, I can go a little bit faster, right? That was way too high, but kind of like towards where I wanted it to go. So I need to bring it down just a little bit, right? I don't know if I hit it. I think I hit it. It sounded like I hit it. Let's see if I can get this one. Boom, step. Boom, nope. Boom, no. Anyways, that's what you want to do when you're practicing in stationary, is you want to challenge yourself and you want to start working on placement as well. I think what's helpful, especially with stationary shooting, is being super close to the target and then also stepping towards it, looking at it, getting your butt end and snapping in the right place. A lot of players get discouraged because they miss really badly and they don't think about it. They don't make the adjustments. Here's the thing, if you're brand new to this and you haven't done this a lot, you're gonna miss a lot. In fact, you're probably gonna suck, but that's okay. Like, you shouldn't be afraid of that. You should want to miss right now. Miss all you want, especially in practice, but also think about it. Start learning so that you can actually start getting more consistent, which will lead to more confidence. I don't know, it's just something that's helped me over the years. It might help you. All right, so now we're going into the on the run portion of mastering the BTB. It's not very hard. It just takes a little bit of practice. So I'm gonna start up from where that logo is right there, and I'm just gonna kind of curl around it. And what you guys can do is, if you have cones, you can kind of make this curl. You kind of wanna be going towards this pipe to shoot back that way if you're going to be on the run. So let's take a couple of shots and let's work through it as we're doing it. Okay. I don't need to be that far. I'm gonna be going for the left side of the cage right there. So I'm gonna be kind of coming towards the camera right here. There's a couple of different ways that I like to start players off when they're learning the BTB so that they can learn a little bit more about placement. It's super helpful as well if you have a goalie. I didn't have my goalie today, but that's okay. So again, I'm gonna kind of come right here. I'm gonna start with a walk, keep my eyes on target. Boom, take that shot. It was a little left, so I'm gonna adjust that. I'm gonna make that correction. Coming again towards the camera, eyes on target, boom. I got it towards where I wanted it to go. Now I'm gonna pick up the speed a little bit, right here. Boom. Got it towards where I wanted it to go. Typically, when you're doing a BTB in game, it just depends on where the goalie is and if you can actually place it. Like, say if you catch it from below GLE and you catch it right here, goalie's right here, and you're like, snap it back right there. I think that's super helpful, especially if the goalie doesn't suspect it or hasn't watched any film on you. That's super helpful right there. But it's also gonna depend. What if the goalie stays back just a little bit because he knows you like that BTB in game? He might take a half step behind and you gotta be able to adjust. So say you catch it right there, now you're putting it right here. So you have to be working on your placement in stationary stuff so that you can actually do this a lot easier when you get to the moving stuff. So when you get to the moving stuff, again, you don't have to be that far. I like to, again, run a couple steps, boom, nice and easy, just like that. You can pick up the speed, obviously. Let's see if we can go fast on it. I'm gonna go around his back, boom, bam, wah! You can pick up the speed. Here's another angle I like to do this for, and I repeat this if you're a lefty or if we're working on the left on the other side. I'll come from right here, say you're coming around the crease, get around the middle side, and just have players do that. That's like one of the easiest ways for players to actually start putting it together. It gets a little bit more complex, right? Let's just say, we'll come over here. Let's just say I'm posting up right here. I don't know if you can see me. Am I in frame? Yeah, let's just say I'm posting up. I mean, you typically wouldn't be this close posting up, I don't think, unless you're gonna get smacked up, all that stuff. You're posting up right here, right? And you're kind of running right here, and you're whoosh, boom. You could definitely do that. I've seen Rafa now do that in game. It's totally a thing if you practiced it. If you don't practice it, you probably shouldn't do it. So again, we're running just right here, boom, just like that, boom. Let's see if we can go with the other hand. Hopefully I don't hit the camera. Boom, boom, just like that. And you're gonna do this about maybe 25, 35 times, right hand, left hand, or do it until you feel confident in it. I think that's one of the biggest things that players don't get is like, oh, I just did my 20 reps. Okay, are you actually good at it? Or did you just do your 20 reps to get done with your 20 reps? Or are you gonna be willing to stay the extra time, committed to actually doing it so that you're really good at it? You can actually get really good at something in a short amount of time. You just gotta be committed to it. I mean, you gotta go through all the failure and all that junk, but you gotta be committed to it. So if you are committed to it, you're ready for the next step, which is catching off of a pass. Let's go. Okay, so we finished up the form. We did our stationary stuff. We did our on the run stuff. You could do it from different angles on the field, test and challenge yourself. Now we're gonna do this off of a catch. Now, if you have a rebounder or someone to pass to you, that's super helpful. If you don't, but you got a big old wall, you could definitely do it off the wall. I'm gonna give you a couple of different positions that you can try this from. We're gonna try it from over here. Now I'm gonna be on this side of the pole. I move the goal kind of close to the wall, and I'm just gonna throw it. Let's see if I catch it, boom, boom, snap, just like that. So it's a pretty easy thing. You can set up your rebounder if you have one or a wall, put this next to a wall so you could actually practice it. Again, I'm gonna be coming right here, boom, and trying to get it back to that left side and really working on getting a good snap off of it, especially off the catch. I'm gonna change up the angle now. Let's say I'm going from right here. Let's say it's a bounce pass. Let's change it up, boom, boom, just like that. Notice how I'm trying out different things. I'm gonna do it on the other side too, right? So now I'm gonna try it from this side. I haven't warmed up my left hand, so I might be a little crusty on this one. So right here, boom, bah. Okay, that wasn't that bad. Came out the frame, that's all right. Cool, so there's so many different things that you guys can do, especially when you're working the BTB. I don't want you to get pigeonholed into doing just one thing or shooting from one spot. I want you to challenge yourself and shoot from multiple different angles. I like this one right here. Say we got a buddy from back there passing from GLE to the front, and we're cutting this way towards them. And now the only shot that we have, when this is talking about application, is actually getting the BTB right here. It's super necessary to have. There's a lot of kiddos that don't practice all types of shots, especially like in club season, which is weird to me because club, for the most part, is set up to help you for your spring season. So if you ain't practicing this stuff in club season, what you doing? Anyways, so again, we're gonna do this off of a catch. Maybe I'm going to throw it a little bit further, right? Boom, boom, catch, boom. Okay, let's do it again. I'm gonna be kind of like working from GLE, see if I can get this. Boom. Oh, I just missed that one. That's okay. I'm gonna be trying different angles, you know what I mean? Because I wanna challenge myself. I'm gonna miss, but that's okay. So let's try this. Let me see if I can do this right here. Boom. And just working on getting it where I want it to be. Let's see if I can hit a target. Let's see if I can do this on the first try. I'm gonna throw it, I'm gonna try and get that left target right there, top left. See that? I'm gonna try and get that. Oh. That pass went a little wide, so I couldn't get it. Let's try it again one more time, because we might get kicked out of the gym. Woo! I think I got it. I run the replay on that one. Okay, so that is practice. Again, form, stationary, on the run, and off of a catch. Now, here's something that's gonna put you on another level. If you could add a dummy defender and get the feeling of them overplaying you, right, or being on your body, that's just gonna help you get more comfortable in game time situations actually trying this. So grab a mom, grab a dog, grab an Elevate goalie, and get to work.